All right, get ready, everyone, because we are diving deep into Jay Asher's 13 Reasons Why.
But this one is heavy, right?
You guys send in excerpts, and wow, just wow.
Powerful stuff.
So it's the story of Hannah Baker, a high school student, who takes her own life and leaves behind these 13 cassette tapes
Yeah.
explaining why.
And I think what's so interesting is how Asher structures it, right? We get these two perspectives.
Okay.
Hannah's voice from the takes, like recounting the events.
Right.
And then Clay, a classmate who was listening to them, and we kind of go through this journey with him.
So we're right there with Clay, unraveling this mystery. And it all starts with what seems like a pretty innocent event.
Mhm.
Hannah's first kiss
Oh, yeah.
with Justin Foley.
First kiss. You'd think that'd be like, a good memory.
Right.
But for Hannah, it just sets off this whole chain reaction.
Yeah, and I think Asher does such a great job of peeling back those layers of, what it's like to be a teenager.
Oh, totally. And like the social dynamics, Justin, I mean, he's caught up in the moment. Yeah.
Brags about the kiss.
Of course.
And you know how it is? Word gets around. And certainly...
It's like a game of telephone.
Exactly. Completely distorted.
Yeah. And it makes you think about, especially now with like social media and stuff, how fast rumors can spread.
Oh, yeah.
And just the damage they can do.
Absolutely. I mean, this incident with Justin, it kind of speaks to this bigger issue that comes up a lot in the book.
Yeah.
The way women are, like, objectified.
Right. And she just wanted, I think, a real connection.
Totally.
The real relationship.
But it becomes all about, how people see her.
Not who she is.
Exactly. And then we get to the second tape
Oh, yeah.
with Alex Standell and that whole hot or not list.
I remember that.
Ranking the girls in their class. And
Right.
Hannah ends up on the, the best ass side of the list.
You think that'd be, I don't know, like a good thing?
Right. You'd think so.
For her, it's another hit,
It is. And it's sad because it shows how our culture just puts so much emphasis on women's looks. Yeah, it reduces them to, like, just their bodies.
Exactly. It's not about who they are as people. And you can see how the way people treat Hannah starts to change.
Yeah, it's like she's not even a person anymore.
Right. And that's the scary part. Even things that seem harmless can contribute to this.
Okay, so then we move on to tape number 3, Jessica Davis.
Oh, yeah.
So they were friends, right?
They were at first.
But things get messy
Oh, they do?
with all the rumors and just...
Jealousy, the whole thing.
It's like high school is this breeding ground for that.
It is. It's tough.
This pressure cooker.
Right. And for Hannah, who's already feeling alone, losing that friendship,
Yeah.
that's just another blow.
Like, who can she trust at this point,
Totally. It makes her feel like she's completely on her own.
And then there's Tyler Down. Like,
Oh, yeah.
full-on creepy stalker vibes, taking pictures of her through her window.
I mean, talk about a violation.
It's a lot.
I think for Hannah, that's a major turning point. Because it's not even safe at home anymore.
Your home should be your safe space.
Right. Exactly.
It's just so unsettling,
It is. And I think it brings up this bigger issue of consent and boundaries,
which unfortunately is often ignored.
especially when it comes to young women.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so next we have Courtney Crimson, who, acts like a friend.
On the surface, she's all about appearances.
Yeah, totally. And uses Hannah to, climb that social ladder,
Exactly. Classic manipulation.
leaving Hannah feeling even more betrayed.
And I think it shows just how much pressure there is, especially for teenage girls, to fit in.
That pressure to be popular.
Sometimes it makes people do things they wouldn't normally do.
Okay, so next up is Marcus Cooley.
Hmm.
This guy uses that Valentine's Day survey, the soulmate one,
Yeah.
to basically trick Hannah into going on a date,
Right.
and then publicly humiliates her at Rosie's.
Oh, that's rough.
It just adds to that feeling of isolation.
It does, and it shows how superficial those high school relationships can be.
Yeah, not about real connection at all.
No, and that public humiliation, that's like another level of pain.
Totally. It's like she's being put on display.
Right, and it all ties back to those power dynamics in high school.
Makes sense.
Your reputation means everything.
Yeah. And then there's Zach Dempsey.
Okay.
He sees what Marcus does, right? But he doesn't do anything.
The bystander effect.
Yeah, we've all heard of that.
I think it's worth defining, though, right? People are less likely to help when others are around.
Like they think someone else will step in,
Exactly. They feel less responsible.
even if they know it's wrong.
And it's sad because for Hannah, that just reinforces her belief that no one cares.
Right. Like even if they see her pain, they won't help.
Okay. And then we have Ryan Shaver.
Oh, boy.
He steals Hannah's poetry, her most personal writing.
And publishes it?
I mean, talk about a violation of trust.
That's like her soul,
Yeah.
poured out on paper.
It really is.
And he just exposes it to everyone.
And it shows how little respect there is for Hannah's voice.
Her feelings, her experiences.
All of it.
Right. And then Justin Foley pops up again. This time connected to Jenny Kurtz.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where Hannah starts to blame herself for a car accident that happens.
It's a turning point, I think.
Yeah.
She starts to see how her actions, even small ones, can have these unintended consequences.
And she's grappling with that guilt.
Yeah, it's a lot to carry.
Now, the story takes a really dark turn when Hannah recounts a horrific event at a party.
The assault by Bryce Walker.
This is just, it's devastating. And I think it's a reminder that this is happening, this violence.
More than people realize.
And we need to be talking about it.
Absolutely. And supporting survivors.
Holding perpetrators accountable.
Right. We need to create a culture that doesn't tolerate this kind of violence.
So Hannah desperately tries to find help.
She goes to Mr. Porter.
The guidance counselor.
Right.
But he doesn't get it.
It's heartbreaking, right? Because it shows how the system fails these kids sometimes.
She tries to tell him what happened, but he just doesn't grasp the severity of it.
It's like he's minimizing her experience.
Right. Like it's not a big deal.
And that's a problem.
We need to do better. We need to listen.
And believe survivors.
Give them the support they deserve.
Exactly.
And then finally, we get to the last tape, dedicated to Clay Jensen, the guy listening to all of this.
And it's the most emotional one, I think,
Really?
because it reveals this missed connection between Hannah and Clay.
Oh, wow.
A connection that could have changed everything.
Okay, I'm interested.
So Hannah talks about this night at a party where they shared this moment, a moment of vulnerability, but it's cut short.
Because of a misunderstanding.
Fear, miscommunication, all of it.
And it makes you think, what if Clay had been more perceptive?
Right. What if Hannah had been more direct?
And it haunts Clay throughout the whole story.
It does. He realizes how much of an impact he could have had.
It's a reminder that even the smallest act of kindness
Can make a world of difference.
Okay, so we have all this unfolding, and at the same time, we're experiencing Clay's journey.
Yeah. He's not just passively listening.
Right.
He's struggling with his own feelings, the guilt, the confusion.
And he's trying to figure out what his role was in all of this.
Exactly. And I think that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because Clay's journey becomes a parallel to Hannah's.
Interesting.
But with this glimmer of hope.
Hope for what?
Redemption. Change. He becomes a stand-in for us, the listener.
We're right there with him.
Facing these uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the world.
That's what makes this book so powerful.
It is. It's not just about suicide.
Right.
It's about humanity, the choices we make, and how we impact each other.
And that's just the beginning.
Yeah, we've only scratched the surface here.
There's so much more to unpack with Clay's journey, the bigger issues at play.
And the question of whether any of this could have been prevented?
Stay tuned.
We'll be right back. You know, it's interesting how the book doesn't just focus on Hannah,
Right.
but like how her death affects everyone else.
Especially those on the tapes.
Exactly like those ripples, you know? You throw a stone in a pond, it's not just that one spot.
It spreads out.
Yeah. And for Clay, he's dealing with all of that.
Listening to those tapes.
He's not just hearing Hannah's pain.
It's his own guilt too, right?
Totally. Wondering what he could have done differently.
Like that classic hindsight thing.
Oh, I know. If only I knew then what I know now.
Makes you think.
Totally. And I feel like he's living in two worlds almost.
Okay.
The present, where she's gone,
Yeah.
and the past, where there's still that chance.
But it's fading with every tape.
Right, and those tapes, they're like this symbol,
boy.
that lost opportunity, her voice literally from beyond the grave,
Wow.
demanding to be heard.
And it creates this tension
Oh, yeah.
as they get passed around.
Each person has to confront what they did.
And they can't escape it
Nope, they're all linked.
by this secret.
This shared tragedy.
And Clay, with each tape, he gets more determined to find out what really happened.
He wants the truth.
But it's hard.
It always is, and the more he learns,
The more questions he has.
it's like a mystery.
But deeper.
Oh, way deeper. We're trying to understand her heart.
Broken by all these little things.
That built up.
And we go through it with him.
We feel his pain,
The confusion.
the anger.
And it makes you question things.
Yeah.
About the people around you.
The world in general.
Pastor makes you really look.
Beyond the surface.
See those struggles that people hide.
And reach out.
With compassion.
Understanding.
Okay, we need to talk about Tony.
He's a bit of a mystery.
Right, we don't really know his deal.
He's like watching over Clay.
Guiding him? But why?
Why is he so invested?
It keeps you guessing. Is it guilt?
Does he want to honor Hannah's memory?
Maybe something else entirely.
And it reminds us that everyone has those layers.
Secrets? Burdens?
Untold stories. And sometimes the people who get it,
Get what?
our pain, are the ones who've been through it too.
Like they've walked that dark path.
Exactly.
Tony becomes like a mentor for Clay, helping him process it all.
The emotional fallout.
The tangled relationships.
He's that calm in the storm.
Voice of reason.
And he's what Hannah needed.
Didn't get.
Right, that empathy, that support.
A reminder that even in the dark,
There's still light.
people who care.
And the way the book jumps back and forth.
With the tapes.
Hannah's perspective, then Clay's reaction.
It keeps you hooked.
We're figuring it out with him.
But we know what happened.
Then they don't.
Dramatic irony.
Exactly. It gives their words new meaning.
Makes you think, are the tapes reliable?
Hmm.
Is it all true?
It's just her side, right?
Maybe.
And that's where the book really gets you thinking.
It's not about judging Hannah.
Or anyone.
It's about how complicated people are.
Right, where things aren't always clear-cut.
Intentions and perception.
Don't always line up.
And the book makes you face those consequences.
Not easy, but important.
Definitely. That car accident with Jenny Kurtz.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big one.
For Hannah, it changed things.
How so?
Before that, she saw herself as a victim.
Okay.
But the accident, it made her realize
Realize what?
her actions matter.
Even the small ones.
They have consequences she can't always see coming.
And the guilt.
It weighs on her.
And that other driver.
The man from her old house.
It's like fate.
Maybe, or just how connected things are.
They were both searching for something.
Escape.
Heading toward the same tragic end.
Makes you think, how much control do we really have?
It's a heavy thought.
It is, but it also reminds us.
To live fully.
Make good choices.
Appreciate the people in our lives.
Because you never know.
Right. And we need to acknowledge
The tough stuff in this book.
bullying, assault, suicide.
Hard to talk about.
But we can't ignore them.
Asher doesn't shy away.
He shows it how it is.
Raw, honest,
Unsettling.
but powerful.
It's a wake-up call.
That these things are happening.
We need to talk about them.
Create safe spaces for kids to speak up.
Where they feel supported.
No judgment.
And we need to teach them
About consent.
healthy relationships.
Respecting boundaries.
It's about building that culture of empathy.
Where we listen.
Without judgment.
And offer support.
Because sometimes that's all it takes.
A kind word, an ear to listen.
To make all the difference.
And Hannah, she was so isolated.
From everyone.
Her friends, her family.
And herself.
And she's carrying that secret.
The assault.
She's afraid to tell.
Worried no one will believe her.
That they'll blame her.
So many survivors feel that way.
It's a barrier to getting help.
We need to be better.
Create a society where they feel safe to speak up.
Where they know they'll be heard.
It's not about blaming the victim.
It's about holding abusers accountable.
And building that culture of consent.
Clay feels isolated too. He's realizing how little he knew Hannah.
The guilt, the regret.
Wishing he could go back.
If only he had seen the signs.
But he can't.
And all that's left is responsibility.
Carrying her story.
Her unanswered questions.
It's tragic, those missed connections.
The things left unsaid.
The chances for kindness wasted.
But Clay, he grows through this. He sees the world differently now.
Through Hannah's eyes.
He's more aware of the pain in others.
More empathetic.
Like a crash course in compassion.
And we can all learn from that.
Be mindful.
Our words.
Our actions.
Our choices.
Pay attention to those signs.
Of distress.
And reach out.
With kindness.
Understanding.
Okay, back to the tapes. What do you make of Hannah's decision to make them?
To send them to those she felt hurt her.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
I can see that.
On one hand, it's powerful.
Okay.
She takes control of her story.
Holds them accountable.
But some see it as revenge.
Manipulation.
Trying to hurt them even after she's gone.
I see both sides.
I think it's a cry for help.
She wanted to be understood.
To make them see what they did.
Face their choices.
And she was angry.
Resentful.
Wanting justice.
But she was a teenager.
Who'd been through so much.
Her actions weren't always right.
But they make sense.
Given what happened.
And that's what makes the book so powerful.
It's not black and white.
It makes you confront those hard truths.
About responsibility.
Our relationships with each other.
And the ending.
Yeah.
It leaves you thinking.
Clay reaches out to Sky.
Another classmate.
He sees the same signs in her.
The withdrawal, The isolation.
He's trying to break the cycle.
He learned from Hannah.
Offering that lifeline.
But we don't know what happens.
Will she accept his help?
That's the thing about life.
We can't control everything.
Just do our best.
Be kind, be there.
And that's the hope in this story.
Amidst the darkness.
There's always a chance for healing.
For growth, for change. And it's a call to action for all of us.
To pay attention.
Recognize the signs.
And reach out with compassion.
You should never know.
It's a simple act of kindness.
Could save a life.
Okay, so we're back. And, 13 Reasons Why really gets you thinking about the challenges teenagers face.
It does, and it doesn't shy away from the tough stuff.
Bullying, sexual assault, suicide.
Heavy topics.
But Asher brings them into the light,
Yeah, he forces us to confront them.
And I think that's important.
It is. We can't just pretend these things don't exist.
They make us uncomfortable.
Right. We have to talk about them.
Understand them.
Find solutions.
And that silence
It just makes things worse.
allows the problems to grow.
Exactly. Open dialogue is key.
To break down the stigma.
Create a space where young people can speak up.
And ask for help.
Without shame.
Okay, let's talk about the TV show.
It was huge.
But controversial, too.
Definitely.
How do you feel about how it portrayed these sensitive topics?
Well, it brought the book to a wider audience.
Which is good, right?
For awareness. Some people felt it was too graphic.
Especially the suicide, the self-harm.
Right, and the concern was that it might trigger some viewers.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
I think it's important to be sensitive.
Responsible.
Provide resources.
For those who might need help.
Absolutely, and the creators did include warnings.
And resources.
But it's a tough balance.
Telling these stories in a way that's impactful.
But also safe.
And you have to remember.
Everyone's experience is different.
What might be triggering for one person
might be empowering for another.
Exactly. It's not about censorship.
It's about being responsible.
And supportive. Back to the book for a second.
Okay.
The power of words.
Both Hannah's on the tapes.
And the words of those around her.
I have such a huge impact.
They do. Words can be weapons.
They can hurt.
But they can also heal.
Comfort. Support.
It's all about how you use them.
The intention behind them.
And it's even more important now.
With social media,
everything amplified.
We have to be mindful.
Choose our words carefully.
Build each other up.
Not tear each other down.
And we need to listen. Really listen
to
for
each other with empathy.
Because sometimes that's all it takes.
One person to truly hear you.
To make all the difference.
Such a powerful message from this book.
It really makes you think.
About yourself, about the world.
Examine our actions, our choices.
The impact we have.
And above all,
be
compassionate.
Understanding.
So as we wrap up, any final thoughts? Key takeaways?
I think the biggest one is recognizing the importance of mental health.
It's as important as physical health.
Absolutely. We need to talk about it.
Not be afraid to seek help.
Support each other.
Break down the stigma.
And we need to be aware of our impact.
Our words, our actions.
Even small things can have big consequences.
Be mindful. Choose kindness.
And remember, we're not alone.
We need to support each other.
Build communities of care.
Where people feel safe.
Connected.
Not alone in their struggles.
13 Reasons Why is a book that stays with you.
Makes you think.
Challenges you.
Sparks important conversations.
And inspires change. So keep exploring these themes.
Talk about them.
Be a source of support.
Because even a small act of kindness
can make a world of difference.
And as we've seen, it's never too late
to make things better.
Until next time.
Keep diving deep.